Oh yeah, I never received an outline, but I think
there's
that
no outline for this one. This is freeform.
Okay, cool.
I just mentioned Vosh, and we'll talk about like how to reach normies. How does
okay.
that sound, JJ?
Dude, that's awesome. That's something that I'm actually into right now.
Yeah?
Yeah, well, because I've been watching the Matt Christman streams. When I got sick, I don't know if you guys do this, but when I was like super sick, I always latch on to some sort of comfort thing. And a lot of times it's Come Town just because it's like no stakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like me and a bunch of my asshole friends like not giving a fuck and making jokes. But this time I was super into the Matt Christman Kush vlog streams and his take on that whole thing. And he's my guy. I've said that on this podcast before. Like, he's my dude. Like, if he started a cult, I would join it. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not that impressionable of a guy, but like Matt just somehow is able to like sort of encapsulate Marxism and all that goes along with it in like the perfect way for me to wrap my head around all the different compartmentalizations and shit.
Right.
And he's been talking about that a lot. His way of, you know how you can't really say like identity politics are bad? Like you can't say that.
Yeah.
And I don't say that, and he doesn't say that, but he does say it in a way that you can't get in trouble for, that I think is really prescient. The way he sort of puts it is like, listen, there is basically none of us right now. We are so small, we fail to make a dent in any of this shit. So if like you're making your politics about pushing people out of the movement, from the ground up, you're doing this wrong, which is like a simple thing to understand, which we've all sort of said and understood in different ways. But to hear Matt say that and like explain it, it's like, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say identity politics are bad or you can't police speech or any of that bullshit that's going to get me in trouble. But we shouldn't be pushing people away from this movement. It doesn't matter who they are. We should find a way to connect and bring them in. And I think that that's all connected too with like, if we pride ourselves on like, no one is perfect, but everyone deserves human rights and basic human necessities. And if we're going to say that, but at the same time, we're going to say, go fuck yourself, you're canceled because like you said the R word in 2014. How does that connect? Like, how are you connecting those two concepts of like, go fuck yourself for using this word, but also like, oh, I have compassion for murderers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. We're not following what we're supposed to live by.
Well, that doesn't mean that, like, you are going to just let them continue to use the R word.
Of course.
Right, no, yeah.
It's like, hey, look, if you want to, like, hang out with us, get to know this stuff, you're going to have to, like, modulate your behavior a little bit to kind of
Well,
fit,
I was actually thinking about this exact situation today because I went to a protest here in town. I took my kids. Very life-changing experience for them and for me to take them there and like to see the effect it had on them and to see how their opinion of me changed from seeing me in that environment. They have like a different sort of respect for me now. And my daughter is like completely into the politics now. She's rereading the People's History, which I had her read for school last spring.
How old is she?
And she's 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she sort of did it reluctantly, but now she's like, I'm not asking her to do it. She is just reading it and taking notes now on her own after this and wants to watch documentaries about the CIA and shit with me. Like, she's on.
That rips.
Yeah, she is on board. Yes, it fucking rips. But I was thinking about this today because I was like, the people that I met down there are unorganized and they didn't really have any sort of direction. And I mean, they're just young and they just haven't had the exposure to the things I've had the exposure to. And just doing shit like this helps you like get your political footing, you know what I mean? And sort of like solidify your ideas and solidify your praxis and shit like that. And I was thinking of like, if I was going to try to organize around here or, you know, try to get something going, whether it's through the DSA or whatever the fuck it is, like, how would I approach that if I heard somebody using the R word as a perfect example? Because it's sort of like, not that it's benign, but it's the one you will most commonly hear among the working class without people realizing that they're saying something that might be offensive, right?
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, yeah, I didn't really come to any sort of conclusion, but I was thinking about it like on my walk today, like how would you handle that? Because keeping with the spirit of not trying to push people away, what do you say? You don't go, listen, motherfucker, you can't use that word. You don't want to jump down their throat, but you also want to let them know, like, look, you might be around people that find that word hurtful, and I'm going to give you that information, and whatever you choose to do with that is up to you, but just remember that, like, now that you're here, we are a part of one thing. It's not that we're here as individuals. We are trying to form like Voltron, to use like a very played out fucking metaphor. Well, I guess it was a simile. I said like. But we're part of a thing now. We're drops in the bucket that have filled the bucket now, and now we're a body of water. And however you want to deal with that is up to you. And I think that's the best way to do it, is to sort of put it on them and just be like, look, you might make people uncomfortable with that. How does it make you feel that you're making people uncomfortable, and sort of see what happens? And I think the average person, if they're at a meeting like that, is going to stop using the word on their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that tracks. It definitely seems like a more a more cohesive approach than just like shunning people completely.
Yeah.
Because like doing that, it immediately puts people on their back foot.
Right.
And also you get this sense of like, when you put it on them, it kind of becomes like a thing where you're in charge of like your own maturity in that
Exactly.
situation.
Yeah.
You're putting the social pressure on them still without actually like putting it on them.
Right. And they can say to themselves, well, I decided on my own, maybe it's not the best idea. Nobody told me I couldn't say it. And they feel like they have some autonomy. They're in charge of their own destiny or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, whatever, all the shit Americans fucking love.
Yeah, I was going to say agency makes Americans feel fucking...
Yeah.
It makes them feel great. They love it.
You're so free.
Psychic Dolphin Garage.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode from the Psychic Dolphin Garage. We have for you today a Psychic Dolphin experience. That is to say, Zach has brought our esteemed collaborators, JJ and Raul, on for a focused guest spot. And by focused, I mean freeform, with absolutely no purpose or direction. So we hope you enjoy. Yeah, no, but that's great, JJ. I like also, the image of you like going for your daily walk.
No, just stop. That's what you like? You just like me going for my walk?
I like
That's
thinking
cool, man.
about you walking down the street, and me like pulling back the curtain and seeing you just like hands behind your back, like staring up at the sky, just walking, not a care in the world.
You pull back the curtain, and the gears in his head are turning, and the R word is like in there somewhere.
yeah, just over and over again. Yeah. And I have my shirt off, and I don't look great right now. I'm not in the best shape. I'm very dad-bodded out right now. And I got to say that for the first time in my life, I'm comfortable with it. Not that I'm happy about it, but I'm comfortable with it, where it's like, you know what? I got like my ducks in a row. I am like a father, and I am a husband and all that shit. So like, it's okay for me to look like this. But I also am on a walk right now, so I'm like still trying. I'm like in shape. I'm an in shape guy. I just don't look as great as I have for most of my life.
No, that's cool, man. Dad gang, rise up.
Yeah.
Dad gang rise up for sure. I'm still there, even though I've lost plenty of weight just like sitting in this chair wasting away. But that's because I've been working hard to get amazing people like you, JJ, and like you, Raul, to have fun conversations like this about dumb things, about just absolutely dumb trash that is happening online and in our lives.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Dumping absolute brain
like
garbage.
there's no excuse for anything that is happening in the 21st century. Everyone has fucked up to this point. And that's what a lot of our organization feels like, is trying to fix things that people have fucked up. And it doesn't make sense that we have Twitter beef getting in the way of real organization. I love I love that JJ goes with Matt Christman. I don't listen to Chapo. I barely listen to Minion Death Cult. That's like the one podcast I listen to.
Minion Death Cult's pretty good.
It's because Minion Death Cult is like the primo, like the podcast for the podcasters, where we laugh about the things that we have to scroll past every day to find the things that the rest of
It's the podcast about podcasts.
I listen to a lot of stuff. I listen to Chapo.
I love Chapo.
Yeah, Chapo's pretty good. I listen to Truanon. Truanon is probably one of my favorite podcasts right now.
You got me into Truanon.
Me too.
Yeah, but when you I feel like when I try to explain like what I listen to on Truanon to normal people, they just like, they think I'm some kind of fucking psychopath. Like, they think I'm some kind of, like, leftist conspiracy theorist, tinfoil hat, lizard people and
Which
shit.
we are.
And then I've been listening to Trillbillies a lot, and they're really good, too. And all the takes are, like, very cool, because they're from, like, Appalachia versus being, like, some big metropolitan city center, so.
I like them when they're on other podcasts. I never really tried to get into theirs because I already listen to so goddamn many.
Yeah, I feel
You know what I did listen to today, though, Raul?
What?
Is And now I'm forgetting the name of your podcast, but I
Oh,
did listen
Authentic
to
Discourse,
it today.
yeah.
It's Authentic Discourse. I listened to it today. Well, first, let me tell you what I did.
What'd you do?
First, well, I saw the titles, and I'm like, all right, well, I got to listen to, I want to listen to one. I want to get some sort of baseline here. And the one that I downloaded was the Kanye one, which you're not on.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
you had gone to, I don't know, the zoo or some shit.
Yeah, no, I was
You
on a
went somewhere.
safari. I was on a drive-through safari.
Oh, shit, I was close.
Isn't that
So
cool?
I got rid of that one. And then I found one where you guys talk about Future and Thug, which that's my shit right there. I mean, that's,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So that's banging on all cylinders for me. You're talking about leftism, you're talking about Future and Thug, and I think, I mean, right there, I mean, that's my wheelhouse.
Yeah, so we're not overtly political. We're
Mm-hmm.
more of a hip-hop podcast, but we do end up getting into, like, politics a lot. My co-hosts are pretty run-of-the-mill libs. I would say maybe Darian's, like, a little bit more moderate, but I'm the resident leftist. I try to mix it up, try to, just give people class consciousness, give people like a little bit of a perspective that is leftist without saying like this is a leftist
Right,
perspective.
yeah.
Just kind of
And
like
that's probably
slow
the best
dripping
way
them.
to do it, honestly.
Yeah, especially doing normie content.
I mean, I think that's sort of how a lot of us were radicalized in one way or another because being a lib, let's be honest, is very easy.
Oh,
it's an
100%.
easy fucking thing to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't got to think too much.
Maybe the easiest because you're not really persecuted by anybody except for conservatives like MAGA types.
Yeah.
Are the only people that persecute you, but you feel superior to them as the lib. So what they say doesn't have any effect on you. Somebody today, I replied to their tweet and they said, define what a liberal is. And this is another thing that I think about a lot because I was a staunch liberal. Like I really want to go through my Facebook and like delete years from it because I'm sure there's rants on there that I would just absolutely cringe at today from myself. but yeah,
it's me every week, JJ. Honestly, it's just like this time 4 years ago. I'm like, oop, nope, that one's going away.
Oh yeah, no,
Right.
that's the only thing that's good for.
But really what a lib is at like the minerals is somebody that just wants to appear smart. I mean, that's literally what it is because we could talk about all the shit that they quote unquote believe or don't believe. But really, once we get into all that, at the end of all of those conversations, you realize, oh, well, they don't actually fucking care about this, right? I mean, that's something we all sort of agree on. Or if they do, it's sort of tangential. It's like, it's all predicated on some other shit. Like as soon as you introduce some facts where it's going to cause them to have to pivot, it's like, well, no, fuck that. All right, forget it. You realize it all crumbles. And that's what we spend a lot of time on Twitter doing all day is talking about libs with waffy sort of fucking belief system. They don't believe in anything, but they want to appear smart. They want to appear to know things. They want to talk about the Hatch Act. You know what I mean? But it's really weird to like sit and watch MSNBC all day and then like think that regurgitating that makes you smart. But I was that guy. Like I thought that when I was like 25. You know what I mean? I'm older than
I would
you guys.
say when
But-
I was a lib, I was pretty apolitical for most of my life. I think around 20, 21, I was like really into like spirituality and just kind of became a lib by like osmosis, just by kind of like being in like the same hippy dippy circle. I don't know. I mean, I kind of consider most people, I guess there's like, you have to make the distinction, right? Between people who are like staunchly liberal and people who are just kind of libs by default.
Right.
Because I feel like a lot of people just end up being libs by default because
Right.
it perfectly nests itself into like the American hegemony of like identity of free trade and
Right.
egalitarianism. I probably wasn't like a ranter back then. I was more of like a meme sharer. So I'd be like sharing like a lot of Occupy Democrats. Was it the 98%? Is that what that page is called?
I think so. I remember what you're talking about. I remember Occupy Democrats for sure.
That was my shit, man. I was very like the fucking like a Pavlovian response. Like, I
Right.
see Occupy Democrats, I hit the share button.
Oh man.
Do you guys think that the bigger barrier is like cultural, or do you think the bigger barrier is around like the information that you had access to at the time?
To why we were libs as opposed to leftists, you mean?
Yeah.
I want to say it's cultural.
I would say I think it's informational. I didn't know how to find the information. I mean, like think about the way that America conditions you to choose between one of these two moderate positions. Like it's not available to us. You know what I mean? I mean, we just spent what 100 years in a fucking Cold War that like the whole purpose of it was to crush any sort of class consciousness spreading throughout the working class like whatsoever. You know what I mean? They sucked it out of fucking entertainment, movies, books. You look up Karl Marx on fucking Amazon today, and what comes up? That fucking book. Do it right now. It comes up a book that it's like the Communist Manifesto, but it has a fucking swastika on the cover. And people have, people have shared the screenshot before, and I've seen that too, yes. Because, and then even if you do find like Christopher Hill or some Marxist historian, the suggested books are like by libs or fucking conservatives. They don't suggest you even other books by like-minded Marxist thinkers. It's all this like mainstream fucking Russiagate or MAGA shit. It's like, that's why I said it's so easy to be a lib.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They feed it to you.
Yeah.
The first results all the results that aren't capital are the devil and Karl Marx, communism's long march of death, deception, and infiltration.
That's the sponsored one.
Yeah, it's the sponsored one too.
Isn't that great?
And it has like the little bestseller tag too.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you on almost all of that. The only reason I said that it's like a cultural thing, because I mean, yeah, of course, like when you look at like the information that we're fed from the day we're fucking born, leftivism is like completely left out of the conversation. Like I don't even think
they won. Like the CIA won. You know what I mean?
Like I think I used to use stumble upon, and I heard of communism like very vaguely back then, but I don't think I heard of it at all in school. But to me, like a lot of the culture, it seems like it's like permeated the culture so deeply that like most people don't even realize that they're liberals, and even like having like a background in like quote unquote the hood, these like ideas of like rampant individualism and competition and like the market mindset, that shit is baked into you, and you don't even know like that's
absolutely
what it is.
I talk about this a lot, like theorizing about hip hop, because there will be people that say to me like, how can you listen to hip hop? It's so capitalist. It's so like all these guys talk about is their money. And sort of the way that I don't want to use the word justify, because I think that this is true. It's that they're coming from an oppressed community where the fact that they have money is political. They beat the system. The system doesn't want them to have money. So for them to talk about money, whether it's conscious or not, is a political statement.
Yeah, I could totally agree. The opulence is mostly like in defiance of like the system as a whole, because like you said, like
exactly,
you're not supposed to be able to make it that far.
And there are rappers that will say as much, you know what I mean? Jay-Z being one of them, like who's completely conscious of the fact that I wasn't supposed to be here. Now it sucks, he's a billionaire, and I don't like billionaires, but I mean, I'm happy that he's as successful as he is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the framing of like having to justify the art you consume. I think that you should be free to consume whatever you want, but I just think that people should be conscious of like the things that art is saying to you as well. It is really complicated with hip hop because there's a lot of decadence, a lot of misogyny. There's a lot of pro-capitalist messaging.
Oh, yeah, of course. And yeah, that's why I try to preface, because one of my favorite things to do my entire life is analyze art. It's like, if I could do it as a job, that would be perfect for me. I wouldn't work a day in my life.
Oh, yeah, same.
So it's sort of like, I do it basically for fun and to help me sort of understand the way that I am relating to my art. Sometimes I even have to like say it out loud, like my thoughts out loud, to even really know how I feel about a thing. You know what I mean? Where it's just like I got to talk myself through it. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, it's like if you're going to be into action movies, you can't worry about the fucking the political ramifications or the political because like The Dark Knight is a right wing movie. Not that The Dark Knight's the greatest movie.
All of Batman is it's inherently right wing, I would say.
Extremely right wing. Like, we need a billionaire. This city is so riddled with crime. We need a billionaire to just like make himself a extrajudicial superhero.
Yeah, just beat the shit out of poor people.
Yeah, we can't pay the cops enough to do it, so we have to. The rich are gonna have to take over. Pick up the slack.
It's insane. And it's funny. They're saying the new one's going to try to deal with that because, like, so many people have been in the Menchies, like, saying, like, he's a fucking billionaire. His power is money. What are you going to do? And I'm eager to see how they try and tackle that one.
I was actually just thinking about that yesterday because I've been watching The Boys on Amazon.
Oh,
which
best
is
show
really
on
TV.
Good.
Season 2, season 2 just dropped.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that as opposed to, like, the Marvel movies. And it really seems like both of them are kind of like, a lot of the messaging is about the military-industrial complex. Obviously, when you look at the Avengers, it's good. And when you look at the Boys, it's like a lot more critical of a take on it.
Yeah.
But no, the Avengers I've never taken the time. I've watched like all of them, but I've never taken the time to like actually sit down and examine them. But they've just vaguely come off as like super pro military industrial complex movies.
Well, that's what all of Infinity War was. No, it was a Civil War. That's what it was about. Was the U.S. military was like, oh, you guys need to sign a contract that says like only we can tell you where to fight.
Yes.
And Captain America didn't want to do it, and Iron Man did. And which I think is I'd never heard anyone talk about this, but that is a really interesting like thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm not sure where I stand on that one, honestly.
Right, but right. And I'm not saying that the Avengers movies are great art, but that is the sort of food for thought.
That's a decent question,
good topic,
especially for,
you know what I mean?
Like for these movies, because they're usually not very like super deep or anything. But that's a pretty good question.
Yeah,
for
it's
that
cool.
movie to ask. Yeah,
But The Boys, though, man, holy
so
shit,
good, dude.
It's like it's like if you want in like 10 years for your little brother to read Lenin's Imperialism, the highest stage of capitalism, show him The Boys now. He'll have a framework.
I don't know if y'all saw, but Hulu also has a new like comedy that they're pushing. Their advertising. It's called Woke.
Oh my god!
It's like a black comic artist who didn't believe in racism, then experiences racism, and then starts to see racism everywhere.
No, I think I may have seen an advertisement for it, but
yeah,
I didn't know that's what it was about.
Yeah, it's kind of. I mean, it's cool. It's good. It's like, oh, okay. So, like, we're starting to be cool. It's like just critiquing racism and the capitalist, like, imperial war machine out loud, which is a good step. But also, It's being commercialized and it's being profited off of. Oh no, where are we going next with that?
Well, has anyone here seen what's the new Jordan Peele produced?
Oh,
one?
Lovecraft Country?
Lovecraft Country.
Oh my god, I've been watching that. That shit is actually like I've really been enjoying.
I am not a fan of it.
No?
And I'll tell you,
I haven't been watching. I'm not gonna lie. I've kind of been watching it with my brain turned off. So
and I think that's what you have to do if you want to enjoy it. I mean, first of all, from the gate, like it's all CGI.
Yeah.
So like, if you're gonna do like an exploitation show like that with a bunch of monsters, I at least thought that they would do sort of a throwback thing, because the idea of the show is like a throwback idea. Like, we're going to set it down in the Jim Crow South, and then we're going to throw Lovecraftian monsters into it. You know what I mean? Get some Tom Savini guys in there or something, but it's all CGI. But then, like, it's like woke for the sake of being woke. It's like beating you over the head with its
like
message.
I was thinking that last night when I watched the episode with the girl who was Two-Spirit.
I've only watched the first episode. I couldn't watch anymore.
There's a scene where they have a person who's Two-Spirit, and they're Native American and they're Two-Spirit, and they're like, they have some kind of spell that was placed over them by Titus, the head honcho dude. And it's cool to see, trans people in media, but it just seemed like it didn't really seem like there was a purpose for her being there.
Right. Well, okay, so the thing that really, I'm going to say offended me, because it sort of did, was there's a scene in the first episode, it's only like 20 minutes in, where he's in the South, and it's a montage of just white people being racist to black people. Mm-hmm. But the montage is scored with a James Baldwin speech about racism. Yeah. Which, first of all, like, how dumb do you think your audience is? That, like, you need to explain it with it. Like, that is just whopping us over the head. Right. And it's like, there's no subtext whatsoever. Yeah. But then, like, at the same time, they're using James Baldwin, which that sort of shit always pisses me off, because the show is not going to look kindly on communism or socialism. Uh-huh. James Baldwin was a communist. Yeah. Like, they love to not talk about that. We're sharing all sorts of James Baldwin memes all over the place. Libs all of a sudden love him, but you never want to talk about how he wanted to get things done, which was by smashing capitalism.
Well, that's what
we can't get into that.
Yeah, that's what they do to pretty much everyone, right?
Whitewashing all the black leaders. Mm-hmm. Like it's yeah.
No, yeah. But I feel like I'm kind of enlightened on this, right? Like, I found out a long time ago, if you want to watch like woke stuff, you just got to consume it uncritically, because you're going to find like all the little cracks and all the little problems with it, and it's just going to ruin it for you. Like, you just got to, like,
turn it off. And I agree with that. My issue with Lovecraft Country is that it doesn't want you to do that. Uh-huh. It is specifically asking you not to turn your brain off. It's like trying to engage the center in you that, like, feels good because it's doing something woke. Mm-hmm. That's what the show is trying to tickle. So it's like expressed purpose is, like, irking me. You know what I mean?
It kind of beats you over the head with this messaging a lot. Like, there's a certain point where they're talking about, I think it's in the first episode, they're talking about Lovecraft, and it's like two black people having a conversation about Lovecraft, and then
I think I know what you're
like
saying.
he walks by and he's like, something, the name of his cat, when they find out the name of his cat, and I was like, okay, yeah, we get it. Like, H.P. Lovecraft was racist, we know.
Right. Yeah. But in that same conversation, is that when he's with the old woman and the bus breaks down, so they have to walk into town?
I think so.
There's another thing that he says where he says, the only way for a black man to be a hero in America is to join up and fight for his country. And I'm just like, oh my God.
That's awful, yeah.
Here we go. So, like, you're going to do the James Baldwin thing, and then you're also going to do the military-industrial flag saluting shit. Like,
it licks boots. It licks fucking boots hard.
Yeah.
Like the
It's
entire
crazy,
series,
man.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about like that kind of taking the aesthetic and taking away the punch? Is that taking away the punch from us coming in afterwards and educating people on this thing? Now that the libs kind of like it, the same way that Trump hates John McCain now, so now libs are like, holy shit. Like, what do we do?
Absolutely. I think that's really tough because, like, when all this stuff happened, like when George Floyd was murdered and then we got the subsequent protests and shit, you know, that was a really big topic on my podcast. We talked to a girl who was an activist, and something that was really difficult for me that I was talking to her about is that it's really hard because I have a really probably like 80-90% black audience. Something really tough is like trying to explain to people that racism and capitalism are just like very heavily tied into each other, like tangled to the point of not being able to be untangled in America without trying to completely erase like that struggle or like come off like you are, you know?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Because people just don't have like, we have no reference point for anything other than liberalism here. So I definitely think that makes it a lot tougher. And when you try to like show people how these things are connected, like the economics are connected to the acts of individual racism.
Right.
Yeah, specifically to what you were saying, Raul, in the ties between capitalism and racism, I think that I've had the most success with explaining to people that like racism would not be as big of a problem as it is today if it wasn't for capitalism needing it in order to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Capitalism requires racism, and therefore it's allowed to survive and thrive. I mean, there's a reason why, like, when you watch the local news, they're just reporting on the murders that happened, you know, in the rough neighborhoods without any context. You're never hearing about the disenfranchisement or the reason why crime is higher down there. There's not even a language for that. All they're doing is showing you these scary images and putting these scary thoughts in your head. And like, it's deliberately to divide us. I mean, if the working class all had class consciousness and all realized that we were the same and in the same bucket, not trying to take away from black oppression, obviously. It's obviously worse for the black community. Mm-hmm. But if we were to unite around class consciousness, capitalism would be fucked. So it's like, in explaining it in that sort of a way, people can sort of understand it better, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like, capitalism requires this. So, you know, if we get rid of capitalism, we're going to see the decline in this almost immediately.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I try to tie it into like just, you know, people talk about crime a lot, but, you know, people don't talk about the root causes of crime a lot. So that's usually where I lead with is like explaining to people that basically crime is just a symptom of socioeconomic factors. And I forgot who it was, but somebody called crime like the child of poverty.
That's great.
And
yeah.
I think that's a really good way to tie it in, is just to like explain to people like crime is so rampant in black communities because of material conditions, because there's such a lack of like access to resources and wealth, etc.
Yeah, it's really weird. Like our whole, I did a long ass post today on Facebook, which I never do, but for some reason I just felt to do it, of explaining my situation with the transport van, which I've talked about on Psychic Dolphin before, Zach. You've heard me talk about that before.
We have the whole story on
yeah.
Wax.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, just like a horrific thing that happened, like from a crime that I committed years and years and years ago, and I ran from probation after serving all my time. They came and got me 7 years later, like plucked me out of like a happy home, a happy life, and threw me in this transport van, which is a for-profit thing, pitch black, no windows, shackled for 10 days, pissing in water bottles, no toilet, couldn't use a toilet unless you're out of jail, picking somebody up or dropping somebody off, like just disappeared, no contact with your family, didn't know where I was, whole thing, PTSD, everything, you know, it just sort of fucked my whole world up. But I was talking about that today, and it's like, people just don't know these things. You know what I mean? And people just don't understand, like, because we're taught to think a criminal is a criminal. You do the time, you do the crime, you do the time, crime and punishment, all that shit. And it doesn't matter who you talk to. You talk to libs, it's the same thing. Liberals think the same way. You know what I mean? Like, if you get into that with them, they're all about not being racist, but then you get into crime and jail and shit like that, and they don't know where to go.
Yeah.
Because it's so tied into capitalism and the prison industrial complex, which are things that they don't like to talk about because they don't either understand them or it conflicts too much with the other things they believe.
Yeah.
But
or they're just okay with it, and they don't like to admit that they're okay with it.
right. I mean, well, because we're taught to want revenge.
Yeah.
And it's like, this guy committed a crime. Like he robbed people, and that's bad, and like he needs to be punished for that. And it's like, why do we think this way? Why don't we try to understand like why it happened, the conditions that led to it, and fix it from the gate so that it doesn't happen again, instead of just waiting for these people that we've put in these fucked up conditions to fuck up so that we can fuck them up worse.
It's like the
you know what I mean?
it's like the thing with the cops and the Punisher logo, right? The Punisher appeals to like this sense of quote unquote like justice, like an eye for an eye type of like appeals to emotion, whereas like in theory at least our justice system is supposed to be one of like restorative justice. That's why the cops using like the imagery of the Punisher is so problematic, right? Is because Punisher is specifically meant to like operate outside of the law and not be like the symbol for redemption,
accountable.
Yeah,
to
like,
any-
not be
Right,
accountable
yeah.
or the symbol of redemption, but like he's just an executioner. He just kills people because it feels good.
He's literally called the Punisher. Like, he's the guy that will give you the punishment, which you deserve, by the way.
Yeah, it's just like it's
insane.
solely based on revenge.
Yeah. But we totally got off the, and it's my fault. We totally got off the topic from what Zach asked.
Oh,
but
I mean, it's still a part of it too. Like, you know, dissecting the American psyche is so multifaceted that it's difficult to just answer one question directly without being like, all right, well, you know, let's not assume that you know all these four other things
Right,
that are the driving factors behind this thing. And what I'm kind of trying to tie us back into is JJ, your initial point about Matt Christman and talking about how we're such a minority. Like, we're not necessarily a minority. We've been hyper disenfranchised in a lot of different ways. And most people, and this is my experience with like now kind of getting into solidarity unionism, is like most people agree with this thing. Like, that's why I got in, because, you know, it
A
makes
lot of it,
sense.
yeah.
Most people most people will listen and go, yeah, that makes sense. If you were telling them these things, if you're kind of dripping class consciousness in with the things that you're saying, they understand that it's good and they can understand your point as long as you're not using explicitly leftist language.
Yeah,
And
which is difficult for
Yeah.
me.
which is,
I've noticed that.
Yeah. Oh,
I think that's the key, right? Is like you gotta be able to tell people like, hey, your boss is fucking you over without saying
the
like
boss is stealing the excess value of your
yeah,
labor.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like it's like walking a tightrope. You like say, hey, the boss is fucking
You're being
you over.
commodified by the petite bourgeois. So the guy's just like, all right, you're a fucking nerd. Get away from me.
And I think I have
The boss
like
is cooler than you.
I have a friend. He's like a dude bro, like Joe Rogan type, you know. And I'd say he's pretty easily sold on like social democracy. So he's like my springboard that I like throw stuff at all the time and just like kind of work rhetoric on him and see how he responds to it.
That's cool.
Most of the time, I feel like the stuff that gets through to him the easiest is when I remove all the like trying to explain to him what the labor theory of value is and just say like, hey, wouldn't it be easier if like maybe your boss shared like in the profits a little bit more with you? Just like breaking that stuff down and making it resonate it's a skill in and of itself.
Yes. And it's something that I think that all of us need to work on more. And you know what? I think a lot of people's problem, and this is me, I'll be honest about this. Like, we learned all this shit. We spent all this time learning it. It wasn't easy. It's not like we had to learn it in school. We had to seek this out in our free time.
Yeah.
And now we have all this information and we want to fucking use it. We want to, we want to see ourselves like dancing in the halls.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with the lingo and the, so it's sort of, there's sort of a romance to it where it's
Definitely.
like, yeah, I'm going to say this thing in front of my mother-in-law and she's not going to understand it, but she's going to know that I understand it and I'm going to look smart. You know what I mean? And it's like I need to back away from that. And I don't think that's so much my my problem now, because I've realized, like, all right, I live in Ohio now. I'm not in Philly anymore. So this is much more working class. It's much more, swing state. Went for Trump by fucking 10 points in 2016. Like, I need to talk differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need to, and I don't mean that people are stupid or simple. I mean that it's just completely different. That this language doesn't exist out here. I have to find a different way.
Yeah, and it's really esoteric.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say proletariat and like that just immediately like they know what you're talking about, or even like 3 or 4 times and they know what you're talking about. I think it is like a kind of like we want to see ourselves dancing in the hall, and it's kind of like a club thing, like you belong to this like secret society of people who understands capitalism in the same way that, and I'm not comparing the two, but in the same way that it feels good when you're like hyped up on that tinfoil hat juice and you like think everybody else is a moron because you know that the reptilians are controlling everything.
Right.
It's like
Which they are, by the way.
yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. They're disappearing me right now. But it's like the same kind of like club. Like you understand the world in a way that like nobody else does.
Right.
And
yeah.
we can't get lost in our own sauce.
And also too, if we are doing that, we're really not exercising the full like wealth of the knowledge that we have.
Definitely.
Because we're using it wrong. We're using it to push people away, which brings me to somebody else. And I swear to God, I've been on Twitter less lately, but it doesn't sound like it because I keep bringing up Twitter.
No,
but,
I understand.
So yeah, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but some girl was like, stop telling people that all socialism is we want healthcare and a living wage. It's so much more than that. This is a global project and you're minimizing it to, whatever. And it was like, I very respectfully, and me and her ended up agreeing, but I replied and I was like, I agree with what you're saying, like from the standpoint of, yes, this is a much bigger thing than that and we shouldn't reduce it to that. But I think when you're hearing people do that, they are trying to bring people in that are not
Exactly.
in. And that I think that's a good thing that they're doing that. And yeah, we ended up agreeing after going back and forth a couple of times. But I think what was happening, and I didn't want to accuse her of this, but I think what was happening is she was new to communism.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's what happens when you're new to it. It's like your mind gets opened up to this wealth of, oh my God, it actually has all these implications. It actually affects everything. We actually want a global movement. That's the only way it'll work. And once you like realize that, that's just sort of in the forefront of your mind. And she's sort of talking to herself.
Yeah.
She's sort of saying to herself, stop thinking that all this was just healthcare and a living wage. It's so much
I
more.
need you to stop psychoanalyzing every single fucking person on the internet. That is beyond the
that's
scope of our
100%
podcast.
exactly what's happening.
But normally when I'm doing that, I'm also
What I'm
doing
saying is you're making me uncomfortable by looking back through my tweets and realizing.
Oh shit.
Right. Well, but I'm doing it to myself as well. Like,
oh, well,
'cause
then it's fine. Then we're okay. That's
yeah. Like I would never say anything like that unless I felt that I had gone through a similar thing, which I definitely did. I think that we all are going through like a second growth as we grow as communists, socialists or whatever, leftists. But yeah, it's like we need to settle down a little bit and realize like the most important thing is getting people on board.
No, definitely. The working class, in all reality, doesn't give a fuck about like the history of class struggle. Like they just don't care. They can't be asked to care because, they don't even know where their next car payment is coming from.
Right.
You got to meet people where they are. You got to appeal to them in a way that directly appeals to their material interests. And so, talking about a living wage and talking about free healthcare, if that's where we start, like that's just where we start. That's what resonates with people.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Medicare for All had, I think, like an 80% approval rate among the Democratic electorate.
And 60 among Republicans.
Yeah, it's insane. And like there's
It's
there's
crazy
literally
popular.
no candidates running on Medicare for All.
Whatsoever.
Hey,
Yeah.
can we talk about Joe Biden?
I'm
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, I'm starting the timer.
Okay.
I'll cut you
All
off
right,
when we've
first
had
of
enough.
all, no, but okay, like because I try not to be too loud about it, okay? But I'm gonna vote for Joe Biden. I think strategically, it's the best thing we can do right now. I get Bernie or bust, and I understand people being very disaffected with the system. Welcome to being a fucking minority your entire life. But I just feel like the moment that we're in, it's so important right now that we make a conscious effort of like a hostile takeover of the Democratic Party, because as long as we have first past the post, that's what it's called, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
As
that's
long
for
as we have
something.
that, like two-party system is pretty much solidified. We're not fucking running
Right.
a third party. People need to wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
We need to become Trump in 2016. And in my opinion, like, Biden is so fucking weak on everything that right now is like the perfect moment for us to do that. If we can get him in, I feel like we can do, like, you know how the Dems are always talking about blue wave, blue wave. I like progressive as a label because it's not scary. We can do a progressive wave. I like how people are kind of taking that on, even though it's kind of getting co-opted by libs a little bit. I think that it's a little less scary than like socialist. I still consider myself a socialist, and I like people calling themselves communists and socialists in the public sphere because I feel like it kind of takes the sting away from the word. Just like
we got to
Bernie did.
normalize it.
Yeah, just like Bernie did. But I like progressive because I can appreciate it for what it is, because it sounds not offensive. It sounds like, you know, I like progress. Like, everybody likes progress. It's really appealing to a mass audience. But a hostile takeover of the Democratic Party, very possible. I feel like we're at like right on the cusp of it being like actually viable for us, especially if Biden wins and shit doesn't change.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see. I don't necessarily disagree or agree. There's definitely something to, I think, showing the Democratic Party what they lost by fucking Bernie over again. I think that if we could organize like a mass write-in campaign or a mass third-party vote, although third-party is sort of wonky because it's like we're never going to get them like above 5% or whatever the fuck. It's sort of like a
If we could get a
thing.
mass Bernie write-in, though, I would totally be in. I would be in support of that.
Right. That's what I'm
I just
saying.
feel like we're too disorganized at the moment, honestly.
Yeah, and I mean that's the problem. But see, that's where my problem is with the hostile takeover of the Democratic Party. We're so disorganized. Like, how are we going to do that? And then also, we don't have any cachet if Biden wins and we all vote for him, because it's just reiterating what they thought to begin with, and that is that we'll bitch and whine and moan when they fuck Bernie over, but we'll still vote for him anyways, and that's all they give a fuck about. They don't care about the shit we're lobbing at them on fucking Twitter, as long as on November, whatever the fuck it is, we go and we vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, as
You
long
know
as
what
it's
I mean?
only
And
on
vote for their
Twitter.
people.
Yeah, as long as it stays on Twitter. Yeah.
Right, yeah,
Which is kind
yeah.
of Matt Christman's point. It's not that there are not enough of us. It's that there are only so many of us that are marching in solidarity with each other.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're being divided constantly by not only our material conditions, like Raul was saying, we can't go anywhere. We can't show up to protests because I have to be at my job because during a pandemic, during a global pandemic, to make rent so that I have a place to live so that I can survive for another month. And we're divided by...
I'm a convicted felon. If I get fucking arrested, I like go to jail, like for
the real
or
jail,
prison.
not the fake jail where
Yeah.
they take you.
Yeah. Like, I don't get out like that night. Like they drop a detainer on me. I get sent back to Philly. It's like-
Fuck that.
Yeah.
You know,
It's dangerous,
stuff
yeah.
like that. It's not even economic. It could be our status as a citizen, which is a terrifying way to have to put it. Like, your citizenship in your freedom is dependent on you, like, not accidentally being at the wrong place at the wrong time. You know, for you go to prison. For, you know, some other people, maybe they, I don't know, get shot in the back.
Right, yeah.
You know, being divided by the cultures that we've created, which are clearly not inoculated against stuff like having a Twitter meltdown. Like, what was Twitter melting down about today? There was some shit. The shit that I saw was Vosh liked to tweet about
Incest,
It was
I think.
incest, yeah.
What a moron.
Like,
yeah.
It's an
Who
ironic
is he?
tweet. Like,
Vosh?
just stop with the irony, please.
Yeah,
I'm tired of irony. I need less of it. The other thing they melted down about was like something about eugenics. God, what was the eugenics one?
I think it was like.
Oh, yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Hold on. Fuck. I
It's
don't
like
remember.
breeding animals is literally.
Oh,
It's
incest.
literally eugenic.
No, incest.
Oh.
It was incest again.
Oh,
yeah.
no!
Yes. Oh my God! Why do people care about incest that much? Like, Jesus Christ!
Please, I just
I don't
want
know if that guy
feedback.
was being ironic,
Please,
though. I
I'll
think
take
that
They
guy,
were like,
Feet-
if you don't support incest because of birth defects, that's literally eugenics. That was
yeah,
the tweet.
Yeah, that's. Oh my God.
I didn't think they were being ironic, though, but I might be wrong.
No, I don't think.
I don't think they were either.
Yeah, because that account seemed like serious.
Who knows?
It's
Who
Twitter,
knows,
it
though?
could
Who knows,
be-
honestly.
And then you have to like know the people that are mutuals that person, so you can figure out like
Yeah.
what kind of posting that person does. So that you're
Yeah,
like, okay,
yeah.
Right.
and then what tendency are they like? And then you know there's like 10 million. There's as many tendencies as there are genders.
Yeah.
I'm convinced.
No,
Right.
100%.
Yeah. So
Tendencies are a spectrum for sure.
yeah. So like dividing into all this instead of. And that's the point that Matt Christman is saying, is that there are so few of us. It's that we aren't, lockstep in solidarity with each other because we're still colonizers at heart because we've been born and raised in the USA.
Yeah.
I guess the
Yeah.
takeaway of what I'm hearing is that the only way to kind of fix our cultural fractures is through knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, how do you get it?
How do you spread it?
Yeah,
Right,
and I
yeah.
mean, one thing about Republicans, you can say what you want about them. They're pretty awful. They're really awful, actually, but they know how to fall in line.
Yeah.
Like, they have differences and ideas, but when it comes time to, like, actually get shit done, they're really good at staying, like, at all doing the one thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm jealous of how simple it is. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because it's like, I know people say this a lot, but if Trump says it, then it's
It's-
good and
it's
it's
law.
real, and that's a very streamlined fucking way to
100%.
be. You know what I mean?
90, what was it, like 90-something% approval rating?
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
yeah, it's crazy. The Republican Party, I mean.
Yeah, the Republican Party, my bad. It's exactly why, like, chasing never Trump Republicans is such a bad idea, but it's like, there's no infighting. Like, they're like, I respectfully disagree, sir, in their, like, very fucking Nick Fuentes way.
Look, Ted Cruz and Dan Crenshaw can call each other's wives whatever they want to. At the end of the day, they'll both tweet about how Bernie is a monster.
Crazy Bernie.
Yeah.
Crazy Bernie.
How Biden is a
Yeah.
socialist, which
That's
I saw
awful.
him do.
That makes me, that hurts my
It's
heart.
Insane.
The libertarians
Yeah.
are echoing that too. That's what hurts me the most. I spent 4 days in a thread with like Texas libertarian like media director in the thread as well. And they're like, you don't know what socialism is. I'm like, socialism is literally, it's not like there is no definition of socialism under which the regulation of private capital could be considered socialism.
Right.
Like, I don't know why you're in, like it's this person was like, I have a poli-sci degree, so you better have a PhD. I'm like, I don't need a fucking PhD to tell you that regulation of private capital is not socialism. Like that. Why is this what socialism is? Why are we stuck having these conversations?
Libertarianism is a psyop. I'm not sure of the purpose.
Honestly.
I'm not sure of the purpose
Yeah.
of it, but it's a psyop for sure.
And like a poli-sci degree in America is like having a fucking economics degree in America. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Oh,
You're
yeah.
being taught specifically to be a shitty American poli-sci
Yeah.
major.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
You're being taught
it's
to
a-
reinforce the system and to believe that economics, whatever that is real,
right.
which
Yeah.
it isn't real,
Yeah.
and
yeah,
nobody
it's
nobody
the
gets
trash
that
can.
either.
It's just eating out of the trash can. Like, this is just the way things are. This is the law of the universe.
Yes, exactly.
Well, and it comes back to, we haven't fixed anything in the past 200 years.
Yeah.
Like, that's why we read Lenin, and it's like, when did he write this
Yeah.
again? He wrote this 100 years ago, you say?
Right.
Huh.
Weird.
Huh. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
That's kind of why, like, what history has ended was the big thing for a while, because nothing has
Nothing's
changed.
happening.
Like,
Yeah.
what have we done with the Middle East? Nothing. We made sure that there's been unrest for as long as we possibly could, because we're scared of what would happen if we stopped waging imperial war
things
around
have-
the
things
globe
have changed.
and other
Things have
countries were
changed.
able to.
No, things have changed. The aircraft that we blow people up with are, they're remote controlled now.
Oh, right.
So-
Yeah.
Things have changed.
I mean,
yeah.
There doesn't have
my,
there doesn't have to be a
Yeah.
guy in it.
Jesus. My mom still believes the myth that like Africa is like a bunch of little villages that missionaries have to go to take them water wells and school books. Like nobody knows anything, and that's the most terrifying
Yeah.
thing. And that's why we do this podcast. That's why I have you guys on. Maybe they'll learn something from this. I don't know. We're just three dumb guys. Dumb himbos.
I'm not even that smart. Dude.
No.
I'm just I'm like a dumbass from Philadelphia. Like I fucked up like my whole life. Like I just if you go back any amount of years of just saying embarrassing things and just making a fool of myself. But still when I see people like talk about foreign policy online, it's insane what they believe. Like you think because you watched fucking MSNBC that you understand what's happening in Syria or some shit. It's so insane to me. Like, and they don't have any historical framework. I think that's the worst part. I think not understanding sort of what the American imperialist campaign has been, for the last 100 years really fucks up the way that people analyze what's happening in the world. they really don't understand like what the Cold War was and like why now it's switched over to this terrorism thing that's sort of this like amorphous fucking threat that nobody really understands and shouldn't be afraid of at all, and probably isn't anymore, to be honest. But they still have to keep trucking it out there because we don't have the communists anymore.
Yeah,
like who were good? I guess China.
Yeah,
is
liberal society demands like a big bad. And
oh yeah, we've been manufacturing the Chinese consent for like.
I don't really think the Chinese thing is sticking as well as like the Cold War. Or
it's not because nobody wants to have another war. Like we're finally getting enough people that were like, I don't know,
Yeah.
we kind of like spent a long time in Iran and Iraq and Afghanistan and what other countries are there over there that we were in? Jesus Christ!
Yeah, and everybody knows that China's fucking massive. Like they know that they just have so many more people than we do.
Yeah, it's kind of the thing where it's like we're gonna drop nukes on Japan because we can't invade them.
Yeah,
but we're just doing.
Yeah, they literally just
doing
throw people at us like endlessly.
Oh man, I can't wait to be called up for the great Chinese war.
Oh yeah, no, it's the beginning of Fallout. We're going to be invaded by the Chinese.
Wasn't
that what happened?
Wasn't that actually in Last of Us that were the Chinese, or was that Russians?
I think it was Russians.
Oh, they were on Russians.
No, in
then.
Fallout,
okay,
Fallout though, the Chinese invaded.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
Put me in a Chinese fucking labor camp, throw away the key. I'm good to go. I've done time. It can't be as hard as the time I did in America.
As long as I'm doing socially necessary work, then is it really work?
Yeah, no, I'm going to be on TikTok from my Chinese labor camp.
Put me in the communist re-education camp. Like I'll be like the teacher's pet. I'll have my hand up. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Pick me.
Unless it's a fucking dingus teacher. I don't know about that one, but
yeah, if he's some nerd.
Yeah, some fucking nerd.
Some fucking
Awesome. Well, thanks guys for coming on. I think we're about to roll over into the stream, but plug your social media, plug your shows, plug what you guys are doing and what's coming up. Raul, I know that we mentioned your podcast.
Yeah, so my podcast is Authentic Discourse, just like that. You can find it on Instagram at that handle, Authentic Discourse. If you don't know how to spell those words, you're probably not a leftist. And then I think on Twitter, we're like Authentic DTX. All of my handles on everything are The Blade Studier.
That rocks.
Yeah, because I'm really edgy, you know. I post about leftism here and there. The show is very, very hip-hop centric, but we touch on a lot of politics stuff too. If you're looking for like very heavily leftist content, you're probably not going to find it. But if you like hip-hop and you want to hear a leftist like try to sneak class consciousness into hip-hop people every now and again, that's the place. That's the place to go.
I think I'm a fan, dude. I think I might start listening, honestly. I'm going to have to work it in there with all my other podcasts.
I'm going to have to get you on, man, because I know you make music. You make like class conscious music, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that sort of started more recently. Like, I haven't really released a fully, like, album of class-conscious material, but I have one that's being mixed right now. But, yeah, I was signed for 10 years. I actually just left my label, a month ago. Yeah, that was a whole big thing. I don't know, maybe I'll talk about it on a podcast somewhere. Maybe
yeah, dude, we should definitely do an episode sometimes. I'd love that. We can do one like here in the near future.
I would love that, dude. That would be awesome.
Fuck yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to that. JJ, what is your you're on Twitter as well.
Yeah, JJ Demonic on Twitter, because I couldn't get JJ Demon. Some asshole snagged it, and he's still fucking sitting on it and doing nothing with it. And I swear I was told by Twitter they were going to start handing those over, like getting the people off the squatted accounts, but they've done nothing with this little asshole.
We need a targeted harassment campaign. That's what we need.
We do. I mean, he probably doesn't even know.
Yeah, everybody find the JJ Demon guy and just like fucking blow him up.
Yeah, I was in alternative press in like 2010. And after that, I couldn't get JJ Demon on anything anymore because I guess people just they see a name and they just think, I'll use that name now for myself on all my social media. So, like, the fucking emails are gone, the fucking handles are gone. But yeah, JJ Demonic on Twitter. And yeah, just search JJ Demon on whatever streaming service you use. Or Josie Wales is my side project. We just released an album like 2 months ago that's pretty good. And that's just full of class consciousness shit. That's me and my homie that I grew up with.
Anything JJ touches is gold, honestly, and you should all check it out.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed the conversation with JJ, honestly.
No, this was
I
awesome,
fuck with you
man.
on Twitter, and like I fuck with you even more now that we've actually had a conversation.
Oh, dude, that's awesome, dude. This was so cool, and I fuck with your podcast, and this was fun, man.
Absolutely. We only have the best guests here. So I'm going to go ahead and sign us
the
out.
best guest, folks.
Yeah, thanks for listening to this. This is always a lot of fun having, all of our friends of the show on talking about just fucking bullshit and trying to figure out where we're going with our lives. So hope you all enjoyed and hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
Bye.
Peace.
Howdy, y'all. Don't forget to follow our link tree in the show notes to discover new things like our Discord, social media platforms, and all the places where you can listen to our podcast. Word of mouth is the best way to introduce us and other leftist creators to friends, family, coworkers, your AA buddies. Community is about more than hot takes online. And if you want to support our efforts, you can donate to us at patreon.com/psychicdolphingarage, which is spelled how it sounds. Hope to see you on the stream tonight. Enjoy this music by JJ Demon.
How the fuck I still got a full head of hair? Not a single gray. Fuck the cops, family first, every single day. Bringing a charm when I ring the alarm. My arms got a box cutter and sticky. We gotta abolish ice, we gotta abolish ice, abolish it. No need to apologize, the Holocaust abolishes. For no reason we colonize the land and put up monuments. Dope needles, dollar signs, the globe stands in astonishment. I hope there'll be a punishment. I really wanna get bloody. I really wanna stand in judgment of anybody taking money from anybody in the struggle. Anybody on a budget. Poor people getting 10 to 20 for some dumb shit. Corporations incorporating a bloodlet. Mark my fucking words, this coup will not be bloodless. Mark my fucking words, this coup will not be bloodless. Mark my fucking words, this coup will not be bloodless. Mark my fucking words, this coup will not be bloodless. Mark my fucking words, this coup will not be bloodless. Mark my fucking words, this coup will not be bloodless. Mark my fucking words.